everybody, Cinema Sickness here with your daily sickness video, and happy Tuesday to each and every one of you. Let's just dive right into today's daily sickness video because we have some reviews. Got some stuff I've recently checked out that I want to talk to you guys about. Gonna be a little bit different of a review video because some of the stuff I've watched before, some of it's just like really random stuff. It's just, I've been moving a lot of stuff around, and because of that, I've watched some, rewatched some documentaries and just watched some random stuff with Simpsons Jr., so lots of randomness going on. Let's take a look at what I recently checked out. So, first up, not random, pretty awesome, that is Focus. This I actually checked out with the wife. She really wanted to see this. I wanted to see it as well, because I am a big Will Smith fan, and great movie, really enjoyed it. It can be at times, you can kind of figure out what's going on. If it's one of it kind of suffers from a lot of movies suffer from these days, where it's hard to find something new. If you're like me, and I'm sure like many of you, you've watched a zillion movies, you kind of expect things to go a certain way. Your average moviegoer might not see something coming, but you're gonna see it, and you do see that with Focus. I mean, watching it, I go, okay, this is what's happening, this looks really bad, but you know it's going to go this way, or, oh, okay, it's going to go that way. You just sort of see how things are going to go. Again, if you've seen a million movies. My wife didn't see twists and turns, like something would happen and she'd be like, oh, I didn't see that. Whereas I was like, okay, this is probably what's going to happen. I would get it, because, again, I've seen these movies like this a million times. But with that being said, it's still a great film, and I love Will Smith's character of just this hustler who, everything from being like a pickpocket to just knowing how people work and how to as it says, focus, kind of bring people's attention in different ways that he can work off them. Everything from, again, pickpocketing where, hey, look over there and you swipe your wallet, to setting, there's this awesome scene where he sets this guy up to take his money, and I won't tell you why, because if you haven't seen the movie, I'm going to leave it go, but really cool setup to watch him take some guy's money. It's really awesome. So, definitely an enjoyable movie. Had, many twists and turns. Again, I kind of saw things coming, but regardless, it's still a very well done movie. Awesome. All about this bit of a hustler and just the craziness and how he never loses his focus. I love it. Even when you think things are going one way, they're actually going another way. So awesome movie. Definitely check out Focus. Then I watched Frank and Jess, all about the James boys here, and great movie. I am a big fan of like 80s and early 90s Wild West movies. It's probably my favorite time period of westerns. I know a lot of people, like earlier westerns and stuff, and I certainly do. I love those westerns as well, but there's just, for me, something about like late 80s, early 90s westerns that I'm just a sucker for, and we got some of that right here. I'm trying to figure out what year this was. It doesn't say on the back, but I think it was 98, so there you go. So a little bit of late 90s, but still a great watch, all about the James boys and their life and what they went through and who they teamed up with. And it basically this takes place after the Civil War, and the James boys want to go out and do what they do best and rob trains and rob banks and do what they got to do, especially since the railroad is now coming through and basically hustling all these Southerners. The big capitalist northern railroad companies are coming down south and wanting to run railroads through there, but they need land, and they're basically just taking people's land by just like shooting them and just doing all kinds of horrible, evil, corrupt things and running people off their land. And they want to go after them, so they're robbing like banks that the train companies own and stuff like that, and robbing their trains and whatnot. And of course, like the Pinkertons come in, and they're gonna stop. Well, Pinkerton comes in, and his boys come in, and they're going to put an end to this and whatnot. So great story. How absolutely truthful is it, and how many liberties does it take? It's Hollywood. I'm sure there's many liberties. I've seen many documentaries on it, and there are many things in here that I was like, I don't think it quite happened that way. But regardless, it's still a great Western. If you're like me, you just love those great kind of like 90s Westerns, you're going to love this one. Definitely a great watch. I mean, Rob Lowe, Bill Paxton, Randy Travis. It's just a great lineup. There's a lot of great people in this movie, so definitely worth checking out. Again, if you're a fan of like 90s Westerns, it's a must-see. All right. Then a documentary, which I've already talked about before, but again, it's moving some stuff around, so I popped it and watched it, and that is Turtle Power, the definitive history of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Definitely a very good documentary. Definitive, not quite. It's really all about how the turtles took off. Everything from how they were created to the comic book and the comic book taking off, and that leading into the cartoon, and then that going into like the movies, and it's kind of around that period of films or period of the Turtles. We talk about like from the beginning up until like I'd say more or less the first film, but I guess we'll say first, second, and third Turtles films. They kind of talk about that. They don't really go anywhere past that. They hint at the new Turtles, and they hint at like the new Turtle movies, and they hint at the cartoon series and stuff like that, but they don't really talk about it. They just kind of show it like in a timeline at one point, but they don't go into it. So I would not say this is a definitive history. This is kind of like how the Turtles rose and became the big juggernaut that they are. And for that, it's a really good documentary and definitely worth checking out. Very informative. You're going to learn a lot. It's definitely the definitive history of the time period the Turtles are talking about. It very definitive. It tells you everything. It's great. They go into detail. They talk about like the live on stage show tour and stuff like that. They talk about a ton of awesome stuff. If you're like me and you grew up in like the late 80s, early 90s, and you grew up with the Ninja Turtles, you're going to love this documentary. It's going to talk about the time period that you grew up with the Turtles. It's just not going to talk about anything really past that. And if you're a bit younger than me, and you've grown up with maybe like the early 2000s Turtles and like the newer Turtles and stuff like that, the new Turtles movies, if those are your thing, that's kind of where you're growing up. They're not going to talk about that, and that sucks. I really wish they would have gone into that, but they unfortunately did not. But regardless, it's a fantastic documentary. If you were a Ninja Turtles fan, it's definitely a must-see. Highly recommended. All right. Then, again, something else I can't hold up and show you is I don't have a physical copy. Unfortunately, I do not have a physical copy of the Turtles documentary. I gotta get one. But something else I don't have a physical copy of, and I only watched this because I was looking on my phone for something for me and Simicus Jr. to watch, because he was done playing with his toys, and he came up and sat down with me. I was like, oh, let's watch something on my phone. And I happened to have Batman Supervillains Catwoman, the digital copy of that, on my phone. So we watched it, and there's not much to say about it. If you like Batman the Animated Series, it's 3 episodes of that featuring Catwoman. They're fantastic episodes, as Batman the Animated Series was an absolutely fantastic series. It's a pointless thing to own, though, if you're going out and you come across those. They have a few of them, I think, supervillain sets. If you come across it, there's no reason to get it. It's not like... It'd be one thing if it was like literally a collection of like every Catwoman episode. That'd be kind of neat. I'd be like, that's awesome. But it's just 3 random Catwoman episodes, good Catwoman episodes, but that's it. It's just 3 Batman Animated Series episodes featuring Catwoman. There's not much more to say about it than that. Simicus Jr. liked it. Apparently he's a Batman fan, but it's not something you need to own. Get the actual 4 seasons. Get those releases. They're worth owning. It's Batman Animated Series. It's a fantastic television series. This is great. Then when I watched American Masters, Good Rockin' Tonight, The Legacy of Sun Records. This was a cool documentary. It's sort of 2 documentaries in one. It's the history of Sun Records, which is really cool, and also like an inside look of this kind of like a history of Sun Records album they were putting out. It's new artists. Well, not necessarily new artists, but like newer-ish artists. Because I mean, there's people like Paul McCartney and stuff like that. So not all necessarily like Page and Plant and stuff like that. Not necessarily new artists, but artists who came after the whole Sun Records craze, and they're basically covering songs that were recorded by Sun Records artists for this album. So you're learning about the history of Sun Records, which is really cool, and you're just getting an inside look at these newer artists recording classic Sun Records songs, which is pretty cool. And they do show you like full recordings of it, which is pretty awesome. So you're getting to see full recordings, new recordings of this music, and it's really interesting to watch everybody have their take on it and whatnot. And very cool. So would I recommend this? I would, if you just want to learn the history of Sun Records, which who won it? It's Sun Records. So many great artists recording there. Definitely worth checking out. Kind of a shame, like it's almost depressing a little bit because you hear about Sun Records like building up and building up, becoming this great big thing, and then kind of like just becoming nothing. Like all the artists like went like became big and then went and signed to like bigger labels, and just Sun Records just kind of went downhill. And it's a sad thing, but cool documentary, worth checking out. All right, another documentary I've already seen and unfortunately do not have a physical copy of, and that is Not Quite Hollywood: The Wild Untold Story of Ozploitation. Great documentary. Talks all about Australian, like the Australian film business, like when it started to like really start to boom, and how it was just all really like cheesy, bad exploitation movies that were coming out. Like that was it. It was like TNA and hardcore violence. Like every movie is basically like Mad Max and like 10 times worse. So Mad Max is kind of the movie that everybody knows about. Picture that. Like every movie was like sort of like that. So it's pretty awesome to watch it. Like just how vulgar all these movies were. It's really interesting to see like these are the movies that were coming out at the time. Super vulgar movies, full frontal nudity, children being murdered, women being murdered, like just horrible stuff happening in these movies. And that's what was going on. So great documentary all about they call it Ozploitation movies. I don't have too much more to say about it, but I mean, it's interviews from directors and from actors and actresses from the time. They talked to Quentin Tarantino, because of course he's a fan of these movies. They talked to him a bit and whatnot, and it's great. And if you want to just, I'd say it's almost worth watching just to like have your phone on you and just jot down these movies. The first time I ever watched this movie, I had my phone, and every time they talked about a new movie, I would go on to Film Aficionado and add like the movie to my wish list, because there's so many movies now I want to see because of the first time I ever saw this documentary. I had to add them all. I was like, I got to see that movie. Oh, that movie looks really cool. So great documentary. Definitely check it out if you like just cheesy exploitation films. All right, then I watched again physical copy or a digital copy of The Walk. Yeah, I was kind of disappointed. I would highly recommend seeing the movie Man on Wire? Man on Wire. Check that out. That is an absolutely fantastic movie. All about, I forget his last name. His name is Philippe something. I forget his last name, but he's a guy who decided to string a wire from one side of from one World Trade Tower to the other World Trade Tower and walked across them. It's insane and it's awesome. The reason I was not all that big fan of The Walk is it skipped over a lot of stuff. It just didn't really tell the story all that well, I thought. Granted, it does focus a lot on just the World Trade Tower walk and kind of skips over the rest of his stuff. It just kind of skims over like the beginning of his life, or beginning of his, how he got into wire walking. It kind of skims over that and then goes into, like I'd say, like it's a 2-hour movie. So like maybe the first half hour is like how he became a wire walker. And then like the hour and a half is like him wanting to do the World Trade Tower. And it felt like there were a lot of liberties taken. It felt like a lot of stuff was you're being misinformed and wrong, because if you watch Man on a Wire, which is like narrated by Philippe, unless he was lying in that movie, it seems that the story is told better in Man on Wire and told more truthful in Man on Wire, and you're going to learn a lot of stuff about the guy that they kind of left out of The Walk, and I just wasn't all that impressed by The Walk. It was just okay. It was just in my opinion, mediocre movie, and would I recommend it? I would actually not recommend it. I would say, no, don't see it. Watch Man on Wire. I mean, if you really want to see The Walk, it's not a bad movie. Sure, check it out. But if you're looking for a movie about the walk across the World Trade Towers, watch Man on Wire. It's a much better movie. Yes, it's a documentary, but it's told in it's that's the thing about documentaries. Some documentaries are just like, okay, here's all the information. Other documentaries tell a good story. Man on Wire tells a really good story. It's told it's told like a story, but it's a documentary. So check it out. Much better than The Walk, in my opinion. But I mean, The Walk was okay. It definitely felt like also it was a movie that was really only done not because of, hey, let's just talk about this guy and this cool thing he did. It kind of felt like a cheesy cash in still all these years later to 9/11, especially at the end when like, oh, the end's so cheesy. The end of the movie, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's he's playing Philippe, and he has this like card that lets him go up to the observation deck of the World Trade Towers, and he says something like, on the bottom of this, it's marked, the dates it's good for, and so and so crossed it out and just wrote forever, and then it shows the World Trade Towers, and like New York kind of like fades out, and the trade towers are like glowing, and it's like, I get it, the World Trade Tower, like never forget, forever, yeah, okay, like. And I'm not trying to like downplay that or anything. I'm not trying to say like, oh, who cares about the 9/11? No. But it just sort of felt really cheesy and really like let's just shove 9/11 down your throat. You know what I mean? Like it just felt really like forced. And I was like, ugh. Like it's just way to be subtle. Another problem. So much CGI. Like I don't think anybody in this movie actually walked on a wire at any point. It was like all CG and very noticeable too. I was kind of let down by that. I wish they would have maybe gotten some. I mean, unless I'm wrong, you tell me. It certainly looked all CG to me, and from what I read online, it was all CG. They should have hired somebody to play Philippe that could actually walk on wires. So, yeah, the CG kind of really took it away too. It looked kind of cheesy. There were things like I think even parts where like just where Levitt was juggling, like I'm pretty sure that was like there's a lot of that was like fake as well. Like you could just tell, like it didn't look natural. It didn't look like he was actually doing it. Kind of like he was just going, and like things were put it, like just stuff like that. It just it looked fake. So I was kind of bummed by that. But The Walk, again, it was just okay, just mediocre. If you want to see it, check it out. It's not a bad movie. It's worth seeing if you want to see. But again, Man on Wire, much better. See that. All right, then we have Dolphin Tale 2, and once again, just okay, just mediocre, just all right. The first Dolphin Tale movie, I actually really liked it. I thought it was very good, great story, very heartfelt and whatnot. The only really bad part of the first movie is that stupid helicopter scene where they're flying that like RC helicopter, which is only put in the movie. The only reason they added that to the movie was because they wanted to make the movie 3D. I'm pretty sure the people behind Dolphin Tale were like, let's do this movie in 3D. And then they watched it and went, this movie would be ridiculous. There's nothing 3D in this movie. Why would we make this movie 3D? And they went, RC helicopter. Perfect! Now we have a 3D movie. There's actually something coming at the camera. Such a stupid, cheesy, only put in there. Does not even fit in the movie whatsoever. Only put in there just for the 3D. Drove me nuts. But other than that, the first movie is excellent. Check it out. Again, great heartfelt story. Awesome. I loved it. Dolphin Tale 2, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. And apparently it's another truthful story, kind of a continuation of Winter, this dolphin who unfortunately, had lost her tail, and they had to put a prosthetic tail on her. And the story of the dolphin she was paired with, because apparently it's illegal to have just a dolphin in captivity by itself. Even a dolphin like this who can't go back out into the wild, you can't have the dolphin just by itself. They have to have a companion. And the dolphin she was companioned with, unfortunately, died. And now Winter is just by herself. And what are they going to do? They need to find a companion. And guess what? They end up finding a companion. But it's a decent story. It's okay. This is definitely not a bad movie. I just like the first movie more, but I can't really say this is bad. It had some cheesy moments. It definitely felt ridiculous at times, but I guess all things considered, the first movie did that as well. It had some cheesy moments, so really when it comes down to it, it's not a bad movie. I'd say if you liked Dolphin Tale, if you enjoyed Dolphin Tale, the second movie, Dolphin Tale 2, it's worth checking out. It's just not quite as good as the first, in my opinion, but it's not bad. So yeah, if you like the first one, why not check the second one out? It was actually pretty decent. Okay, then some more randomness here. Watch this with Simsigus Jr. I figured it's finally time to start watching these, and now they have a kid who's into cartoons. Let's do it. And we have this Just for Kids mini features release of Oxtails, which is a Netherlands, it's like a Netherlands/Japanese like anime series. It's based on a Netherlands comic strip, but it was done by like an anime studio, so it's kind of kind of weird. But it's okay. It's just cheesy anime. What's weird about it is at first I'm watching this, I'm thinking, okay, this all takes place on a farm. Did they even mention that? Yeah, Old MacDonald had a farm, but it was never as crazy as this. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Ollie the Ox, like, I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, this is all taking place on a farm. But then you have things like, alligators coming out of the water, and gorillas, and all kinds of weird animals like that. So, I mean, look, there's a camel. Like, I mean, like, weird stuff. Like, all kinds of, animals you wouldn't expect on a farm, like, just pop up. So, you gotta take this series with a grain of salt and just realize that apparently this farm just has like any animal that they want to add to the story, it's gonna be in the story. They're not actually trying to make this like look like it's really a farm. They're just like, whatever. We need gorillas in this scene. The farm now has gorillas. So kind of crazy, but I don't know much to say about it. It's just pretty cheesy anime. If anime's your thing, it's fun, but it's not all that great. It's just okay. But Oxtails, interesting. I need to look into some more of this. And then the last trailer here we have to show you some John Waters here with Pecker. Yes, finally, my first time. And finally getting around to watching Pecker. And it was decent. It's kind of Christopher, what? John Waters, I don't know who Christopher Waters is. John Waters, like kind of first, kind of like take on his first like try at like a really like mainstream Hollywood movie. So unfortunately, it doesn't have that shock value of a John Waters film. There's scenes in it that like you could tell he's going for the shock, but kind of like it's like you're going up the roller coaster and you're like shock, not quite. Like you just never quite make it over that hill. There's even a scene in this where a girl, there's this whole like weird like thing about the dad being like against like pubic hair, yeah, and they do show a girl rip off her bottoms, and like Pecker takes a picture of her crotch, and you do see like full bush and whatnot, and and even that just didn't quite feel like shocking enough. Like it was just sort of weird, like the way it went. But not a bad movie. Definitely had a John Waters feel, which I liked. If you like his movies, you're probably gonna like this. It's just kind of like his first like trying to go a bit mainstream and not the typical B movie John Waters you're used to. It's a little bit more Hollywood John Waters, which is okay. And I almost kind of feel like maybe the movie's somewhat a take on his like life in a sort of way, because it's all about this kid Pecker, which again, John Waters. Why would you not name your character Pecker? He's a photographer, and he just does it for the fun of it, and he gets noticed, and all of a sudden he becomes this big thing, and they take him to New York, and everybody's in love with his photos and whatnot. And unfortunately, it causes a lot of problems. People get pissed off. His house gets robbed. Things aren't going so well with his girlfriend. People are mad that like their pictures are out there being used, and people are buying the pictures of these people that they're not getting compensated for, and all this stuff. People are just getting pissed. Like his hometown now hates him, and unfortunately, because of this, and because he's all big and famous, he can't just go out in the streets and just start snapping pictures, because everybody wants, like, people know who he is now. People are like, no, you gotta pay for that, and you'll pay us for this. And his best friend, who's like a thief, and like, in the movie he's apparently like the best thief like in Baltimore. He can't do his job anymore because now people know he's a thief, and now he used to be this guy who would rob everything and steal everything, and nobody would know it was him doing it. And now, of course, they all know that's the thief, and so every time he walks in the store, all eyes on him. So he can't even do what he wants anymore, and it's just creates this whole big mess now that he became famous. And in the end, he has to go back to basically he shuns New York and sticks to Baltimore. And he's like, if you want to see my work, you got to come to Baltimore and check it out. I'm not doing this big New York thing anymore. You got to come see my work here. This is where I shoot. This is what I do. This is what I love. I love Baltimore. So I almost kind of feel like maybe hitting a bit close to home for John Waters, from him, doing these kind of independent just films he was having fun shooting, and then him getting notoriety and kind of becoming something big. And, the same thing with Divine, she just being this, transvestite in John Waters films, and then her getting really big as well and becoming a star. So I don't know, maybe something like I want to say maybe Christopher Waters was basing this film on something he knew a lot about. I don't know, but regardless, decent film. Like I said, a bit more Hollywood John Waters than kind of your B movie John Waters you used to. But it's still a good movie. Definitely worth checking out nevertheless. And I did enjoy Pecker. I enjoy Pecker. There you go. So, all right, guys. That is it. So, that's everything I checked out. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much going to recommend everything. I mean, Focus was good. Frank and Jess was great. Turtle Power, great documentary. Batman Supervillains, Catwoman, again, it's not really worth picking up. Get the season releases, but I'm not saying anything bad about it. It's Batman Animated Series episodes. Can't go wrong. The Sun Records documentary was great. Not Quite Hollywood. That was an awesome documentary on Ozploitation. The Walk is the only thing I'm really kind of like, to. Just because Man on Wire was so much better. Such a better story. And just told so much better than The Walk. I was just really disappointed in The Walk. I was expecting something so much better and disappointed. It wasn't bad. It's worth checking out if you want to see it. But it just wasn't as good as I was expecting. And Man on Wire is about like a zillion times better. So just watch Man on Wire. Dolphin Tale 2, it wasn't, like I said, it was good. If you like the first movie, you'll probably like the second one. Oxtails, it's just anime. I don't have anything bad to say about it, but it wasn't anything great. And Pecker, fun John Waters movie. Check it out. So, all right, guys, there you go. That is it. So, like I always say, thank you guys so much for checking this video out. Be sure to hit that like button down below. Also, if you want to see a new video from me every single day, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and you will get one. Also, if you want to pick yourself up a cool CinemaSickness t-shirt or hoodie or hat or buttons or anything like that, head over to cinemasickness.spreadshirt.com. Head over there and grab yourself some of that. I'd appreciate that. And also, if you want to keep these videos coming and bring all kinds of new videos and just show your support, head over to patreon.com/cinemasickness. Become a patron. Any little bit helps and is greatly appreciated. So, all right, that is it, guys. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you all tomorrow. See you then. Bye.